There's a new me coming out, and I just have to live, and I wanna give. I'm completely positive. I think this time around I am gonna do it like you never knew it. Oh, I'll make it through. The time has come for me to break out of the shell. I have to shout that I am coming out. I'm coming out. I want the world to know.
Welcome to the show, Never Too Late Ever, where we focus on making the next chapter of your life the very best chapter ever. I am your host, Lorraine Hoving, and I am thrilled you are joining us today. This day will change your life. Open your heart, your ears, and listen. You may find a gem, a treasure that you can apply to your life today. And today, I am so excited to have our guest back from last week, Corey Poirier. Hi, Corey.
Hi, Lorraine. How are you doing?
Good, really good. So quickly, I'll tell you about him. He is a multiple-time TEDxer, a MoMondays and a PMx speaker. He is also the host of the top-rated Conversations with Passion radio show, founder of the speaking program BLU Talks, and he has been featured in multiple television specials. A columnist of Entrepreneurs and Forbes magazine, he has been featured on CBS, CTV, NBC, ABC. He is a Forbes Coach Council member, is one of the few leaders featured twice on the popular Entrepreneur on Fire show. He has also interviewed over 5,000 of the world top leaders. He is one of the most recent talk shows took him to New York City, where he had the extreme pleasure of speaking to at-risk youth at the Brooklyn Navy Yard Boys and Girls Club. He is a father of Sebastian, who's almost 3, a boyfriend to Shelley, and a father of 3 fur babies, 2 cats, and 1 shy dog. Corey is also practicing yogi and a rock recording of the Year Nominee. My, that is amazing, Corey.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a long journey, but when I look back, it is kind of staggering. It's been a lot.
Yes, tell me a little bit, because talking to the at-risk youth in Brooklyn, because that just, I think that would be so impactful to be there. Tell us, the audience, a little bit about that experience.
Well, it was an amazing experience, and part of it, I give credit to my girlfriend in terms of A, playing a part in arranging it, and B, being an advocate for it. But what I think for me, what kind of drove me to want to do that was I actually went to the Boys and Girls Club as a kid, and I was raised by a single mother, and we struggled. The best way I could say is we struggled. I mean, there were times whenever I remember one time she had to use collectible coins to buy us subs for supper because we were that low on money. And it took her, I think, 3 weeks to buy a winter jacket for me one time. And so, we were definitely struggling. And the Boys and Girls Club allowed me to do things like play road hockey and basketball and stuff like that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. And so I saw it as a way of giving back. And we were planning a trip to Boston for another talk I was doing. And so my girlfriend said, well, why don't we reach out to the boys clubs and see if you can give back in that way? Because she thought it'd be a great experience too. So yeah, we did that, and we ended up reaching out, and it was the club we reached out to. It was the head office. They ended up booking it. So what happened was it was students from a lot of the boys clubs in New York, but it ran at the Brooklyn Navy Club. So we ran it there, but it was students and youth from various different clubs in New York. And so it was an amazing experience. I mean, we actually were in New York for about 3 or 4 days beforehand. We made our way over to Brooklyn. We basically did it as almost like a street tour. Like we actually went on foot. We started the trip on foot, jumped on the subway, went to Brooklyn. We want to get a feel for the neighborhood as well before I went to talk. And then but the talk itself was an amazing experience. It was ages, I'm going to say from about 7 to 16 or 17. And I went into it going, this is going to be interesting. Am I going to be able to pull in their attention, keep their attention, all that kind of stuff? And
well, because of the age group is so varied. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's great. Age group is so varied, and they might also see me as trying to teach them stuff, and they might be resistant to that. Like, who's this guy? I think he can teach me something. So I'll tell you what I did. It's helped me a lot that I had a background in stand-up comedy and music, because what I did was I actually layered a lot of my talk with those experiences, but taught them and shared them in a way that they could get a life experience from it. And what happened was, it was like I said to you in our previous interview about concert, how they put in the greatest hits, and then they'll put in a new song and hope to get you to listen to the new song. Well, I did the same thing. I would talk about comedy, and then I would try to teach something about the power of reading. And then as soon as I did that one thing about the power of reading, then I would jump to music. Like, I wasn't foolish enough to think I could keep the attention of everybody if I didn't jump around and really keep going to a thing that would be of an interest, like, people I shared the bill with as a comic, and stages I had performed on and stuff like that. So it was an amazing experience, but every single part of it was I'm going to say, very intentional. Like, even how the talk, I put it together knowing that I was going to have a hard time making it work and keeping everybody's attention.
Right. And the Boys and Girls Club does amazing work. And so my heart goes out to all the Boys and Girls Clubs, because I just think they do an amazing work for children that are, like you said, maybe poor and they can't afford things. And so they can go to the club after school or whatever, or sometimes even before. So I just think, that stuck out in my mind, because I think the youth are so important for our world tomorrow. And so that's great. So today you've entitled your talk, The Power of Why. And I want to ask you, my first question is, what does finding you, like you yourself, mean to you? So how do we find you?
So now, okay, I get you. Yeah. So for me, I feel, and what I've seen with a lot of interviews and studying people and psychology, not in the formal sense, but the informal sense, interviewing at this point over 5,000 people. So I've had a lot of experience studying the minds of people. And, in terms of finding ourselves, here's what I feel it comes down to, a word that some people love and some people hate, which is the word passion. So I know this because our show was called Conversation with Passion. We recently changed the name. It's still the same brand and everything. But what was happening is a lot of people I found are starting to dislike the word passion. They're saying, I'm sick of people saying, find your passion. And
it's kind of overused is maybe what people are finding. Yeah.
100%. And so here's the thing though. So I find it's overused, but we miss, I think sometimes if we let's say discount the word so easily, we miss the power behind us discovering our calling. So I think the passion isn't your calling, it's the what you do, and I'll explain that. But to me, passion is what you do, purpose is why you're doing it. And so the what you do, like for example, stand-up comedy, the what you do, for example, being a photographer, running a podcast, whatever that looks like, that's the what. My experience is the easiest gateway to find you, and also to find what your calling is, your purpose in life, is through finding your passion. So can you do it without that? Of course. Do you need to find a passion? No. But I found that it's a shortcut. So for example, we talked in my previous interview about how I got tricked into stand-up comedy, which then ended up me becoming a speaker, which is my true passion. Well, for me to find my purpose, which was creating an invisible impact in other people's lives, I had to find both comedy and speaking first. And finding those, what happened is, because then I was doing what I loved, all of a sudden the why started happening. I started seeing glimpses of what I could do with this. So I started seeing how I could allow people to escape from their crappy jobs if they weren't happy at their job when I was doing stand-up. I saw how I could teach people the power of gratitude from a stage and have them come back a month later and say, wow, I started a gratitude journal and it's changed everything for me. So living those passions allowed me to, it gave me, I guess you'll say, I almost tripped over my purpose in the process, is the best way I'd say it. So I think if you can find your passion, which I can give some strategy for that as well, but if you can find your passion, that will actually be how you find you.
So that would be my question. And I do think the word passion is overused, but at the same time, it's a meaningful word to me. So how do people out there find their passion? Because I'm thinking that there are people listening out there and they're going, well, I don't know what I have a passion for. And you kind of felt your passion, and as you did your passion, you felt your purpose. But what happens if the person out there is saying, I don't have a passion? I don't care to speak, or I don't talk to those people out there.
Well, what I would say, first of all, is I didn't have a passion when I started either. So I get it. I didn't think I wanted to, I didn't think there was anything I was sort of called to do. And what I will say now, it's one of those things where it's like you don't know what it feels like until you feel it, which is crappy because it would drive you more if you knew how it felt beforehand. But it's just like, somebody says money will make me happy, and then they have to go down this long journey to realize it's not the money that makes them happy. And so it's the same thing with passion. People will say, well, why should I bother? Because they don't know what it feels like to have it. But once you have it, you'll never let go. So for example, with me, I call it the fire in my belly. And so for me, once I turned on that passion, I knew I could never go back. It's impossible for me to try to escape it and not want to have a passion and all that kind of stuff. So to answer what I would say to people, I would say, if you think about, at some point, you must have been super excited about something. So let's say, for example, for you, it was Christmas. I'm just going to use that example. Even if it's not you, I'm sure you have a family member who was excited about Christmas. Well, think about what they were like all night, just getting excited, waiting for the morning to come, and then stumbling down the stairs and falling and, hitting their head and still flipping back up because they're so excited about their presents. That feeling, for anybody that's had it, I'm sure you can visualize what they feel, even if you've never had it, or if you've had it even earlier in life for Christmas or now. That's the feeling I have every day when I wake up.
That is cool. It's like what you describe, a fire in the belly.
Yeah. So my argument would be, when you said, sort of pitch it to them, I would say, why would you not want to feel like that? That would be my first thing. And then the second part, which I'm going to give everybody, Lorraine, in this is something I teach over a half day. So I'm going to give it to people in a minute. So bear with me. But essentially what I share with people is, if you want to figure out what your passion is, what I recommend you do is you grab a piece of paper. I'm going to give you the short version here. Grab a piece of paper, start building a list on a paper. Doesn't matter the order at first. But what are the things that you would do if money wasn't an issue? What are the things that you would do if you won the lottery, for instance? And yeah, I know people would say, I'll go to the beach and never work again. But after you realize after a month that you're tired of the beach and you come back to the real world, what would you do then? Because I've had so many people that have said that, and I know people that have decided they were going to do that and realized it wasn't for them. Some people say that and they don't even like the beach. They just think, I don't want to work. But the point is, what would you do if money wasn't an issue? And what would you do if nothing was standing in your way? Then ask, what did you love when you were a kid? Mark this down on your list too. So the kid thing gives hints. So if as a kid, I had one of my clients, she used to teach accounting to her teddy bears. Well, she ended up opening up an accounting firm, and that became her calling. Well, if she wouldn't have listened to that hint, then she might not have followed that path. And that's a really weird thing, to teach accounting to your teddy bears. Nobody does that. So if you're doing that, there's a reason. So figure out what it was you did as a kid and what are the hints from that. Then on the list, I want you to put down, if you decided, if you listened to somebody else who told you not to do something in life, start a business, go to a college, whatever, what was that thing? And go back to that point where they knocked you off your course, because there's probably a hint there. So what you're basically doing is building a list of the things you think you might be good at, you might love, you would maybe do, things that you do now when time stands still. And let's say you come up with a list of 10 things. Then what I want you to do is prioritize them in order. So what's the one that you think you love the most versus the least? Because I'm all about efficiency. So you might as well start with the one you think might be your passion or your calling. Mm-hmm. Now you have a list that could be like photography. Let's say I'll use mine, but stand-up comedy. It could be speaking. It could be photography. It could be playing music. That type of thing. Could be reading, all that kind of stuff. So now I have this list, and what I want you to do is go to the first on the list, the one that you feel is most likely the one you love the most. And what I want you to do is now say, okay, is it inside my comfort zone or outside? So let's say it was stand-up comedy, then it's probably going to be outside your comfort zone. If it could be something that's inside, but let's just say it's outside your comfort zone. What I want you to do then is I want you to make a list of what are the 3 or 5 things, baby steps that I could take to get me closer to getting on a stand-up stage. And so that could be reading a book about comedy. That could be taking a comic out for lunch. That could be going to the local comedy club. Could be watching comedy on HBO and making notes about why stuff is working, why the comedy resonates with you. And so what you're doing then is you're making the baby step list of all the things you'll have to do before you take the big step.